right, starting here. Okay, I can see we've got a number of people joining. Hello, my name is Sarah Byrne. I work for the Marketing and Future Students Office, and I'll be presenting today with Holly, if you want to introduce yourself before we get started.
Hi, my name is Holly McFarlane. I'm glad you're all here. I am the department chair for the Bachelor of Science in Nursing. I can't believe I did that. Welcome.
Great. And if anyone wants to put in the chat, we're using this new Riverside function so that we can record this session. The recording is going to allow for anyone, if they're not able to join, or maybe you need to move out and do something, then this will be a feature for you to come back and hear the information. If you have any questions, you're welcome to put them in the chat. You'll see, similar to Zoom or Teams, there is a lot of similar functionalities to this Riverside here. And if you want to use the washroom, if you need to get a drink, eat, you're welcome to do that, as everyone be muted for here as we get started and start the presentation. So thank you for joining. So just the housekeeping, knowing that cameras will be off. Myself and Holly, we have our cameras on as we present. If you have questions, you can put it into the public chat, and we'll be monitoring the chat. We'll respond as when we're able to, or especially at the end when there is the Q&A. And just a reminder that this presentation today will be recorded. As your camera is off, you're not going to be in the recording. Just Holly and myself with our cameras on will be in the recording, and then this session will be able to be shared with you after it's finished. Today we're going to be talking about these 7 points. After our welcome, I'll be explaining about the NIC experience as I work in the Marketing and Future Students Office, and my role is to help for future students before they come to NIC. So I'll talk about everything that NIC offers here in supports and services, and more about the Comox Valley of where the program will be offered. And then I'll pass it on to Holly, who will talk about the BSN program in the Program A and as well as in the Program C format. And then we'll talk more about admissions to the programs for both of the intakes, Program A and Option C. Then we'll conclude, and then we'll have the question and answer period at the end. Do note that if you do have questions in between, you're welcome to put it in the chat. We'll see if we can answer it. Otherwise, we'll get to it at the end. Thank you. So today in acknowledgement, NIC works on the traditional territories of 35 First Nations. We're recognizing and honoring the traditional territories of the Nuu-chah-nulth on the West Coast, as we have a campus in Port Alberni, as well as the traditional territories of onto the coast of the east coast of Vancouver Island to the mainland as we go further north with the traditional lands of the Kwakwala and the Coast Salish areas there. I'm going to show also this image here. Holly might also be able to explain a bit more of that. One of the important things here at North Island College is we work really closely with our First Nations. And here especially is Dr. Evelyn Voyager. And I believe this image was taken, and there's a lot of information shared within the BSN program when it does come to Indigenous supports, Indigenous reconciliation for medical care, and especially I know Evelyn comes and speaks into the BSN program, if that's correct, Holly.
Yeah, Evelyn is a regular appearance and across all of our courses at various points, and at our graduation ceremonies and our pinning ceremonies. And we do our absolute best to run what's called a village workshop, where residential survivors or residential school survivors join in a facilitated session with one of our experienced facilitators from First Nations community, and we try to do that at least once throughout the curriculum, if not twice. And it's a very emotional and deep sense of learning about yourself and how we can support the goals of truth and reconciliation in our programming and in our healthcare when it's delivered.
Okay, we'll just ask if anyone's joining to just try to keep yourself muted. You'll see a mic option, and if you press the mic option, you'll be able to mute yourself as we continue with the presentation. Thank you for joining. I'll just continue a little bit more here. I'll talk more of the program experience as more people on the NIC experience as more people are joining, and then Holly will get to more of the details that all of you are waiting for on the details about admission and program details for the Bachelor of Science in Nursing. So just starting here, NIC is celebrating 50 years. So I just have a short clip video that we have to commemorate that.
Like a wave, we are always in motion. Some days we ripple. On others we roar. As tides change and seasons turn, we shift, adapt, and grow. We're shaped by where we've been, and we're ready for what's next. Together, we're a force with boundless potential. On the horizon, a sea of possibility. Where will the next wave take us?
So if you're not from here, and if you are from here, you would recognize it, but this is taken out here in the Comox out in Goose Spit and kind of looking out to the mainland and Powell River. So just for a map and sake of where we are, so here are our campuses. We have 4 main campuses: Port Alberni, the West Coast, traditional area of Nunchalanuth, Comox Valley here, including Courtenay, Comox, and Cumberland. Together, the 3 make the Comox Valley. It's really scenic here. We're near to the Strathcona, Mount Washington, as well as not far from the ferry to Powell River on Ryan Road. Lots of amenities around here with supermarkets and things to get to. And I'll talk more about that with our campus being in an ideal location within here of kind of the Mid-Island. And then this is the main campus where the Bachelor of Science and Nursing program will be. So not far if you're coming over from Vancouver. It would be a ferry ride from Nanaimo in just about an hour up, as well as the Comox Valley does have an airport here shared next to the military base, and so that is convenient if you need to fly out. That's another option from there. Our Campbell River campus, just about 20 minutes up from here, that would have a practical nursing program, as well as the Port Alberni campus. Port Hardy up here, mainly upgrading if you need to get into the BSN program. There's some supports for that for the communities, especially up in this northern part of Vancouver Island. Great. So just some value of why it's ideal for instructors, staff, everyone who works at NIC, why we love being here in the Comox Valley in this part of Vancouver Island, and also why it makes an ideal place for you to come to study is so many things to do recreationally. The Mount Washington is there for hiking, skiing, snowshoeing, lots of trails to go hiking around, lots of events like Cumberland will have music, cultural events. Not far on the west coast to Tofino if you enjoy surfing. Lots of people like to go out on paddle boards. There's lots of things to do close to the ocean and the lakes around here, and it's an epic place for scuba diving. So I do know that the nursing program can be intense, so it's great that there's lots of things to do outdoors to kind of relax your mind and enjoy for what you want to do afterwards. supports. We have a lot of supports for counseling if anything stressful is going on. Educational advisors can help you for pathways. So maybe you are accepted into the program, or maybe you're working on getting those courses and prerequisites. So they'll have conversations with you to map out that planning. And if you're in the program and you're wondering about your finances, student loans, any scholarships, that we have financial aid advisors. So as soon as you apply, you'll have access to all these supports, and Access Navigators are there to help with anything of upgrading courses that you need to have help with. We do have a lot of Indigenous supports. This image is up on our Campbell River campus, and we're really excited on the Comox Valley campus with the new student housing, having a nice gathering space in there. So if anyone identifies as Indigenous, or maybe you're navigating your status, it would be recommended to talk to an Indigenous education Navigator. They'll help with any funding. We have the elders on each one of our campuses, like Evelyn, who we saw a picture of at the beginning, be supporting into the program for BSN, as well as there's counselors, student lounges, gathering space. So lots of supports there that are for Indigenous students, but sometimes they also welcome other students and staff as well to come to any events. If you have a diagnosed medical condition, or maybe you're navigating that, it would be recommended to talk sooner than later to our DALS department. So this is the Department of Accessible Learning and Services. They have a learning specialist to make an appointment with, then that can help with any accommodations you need for the classes that you'll be taking, so you have success with that. There's things like technology support, or a quiet space to do your test, extended time. So they'll be working on that to help with the instructors for any of the learning. On the Comox Valley campus, we have a really good cafeteria where you can bring your own food. There's no specific meal plan. It's kind of the mentality here that you don't need to overpay for extra. Often people in meal plans will overpay for maybe what they don't need. So you'll see that the rates and the food there are reasonable price, and then you can bring your own food and heat it up if you want to as well. And some people go nearby if you need to get some food off campus. The campus store is where you'll get your books, supplies, everything. So that's very close by to where the cafeteria is. The student union is going to be there if you need extended health benefits. So that's going to help you for vision care, physiotherapy, anything for travel insurance. It's a really good rate, just around $200 for the year, or you can opt out if you're already receiving coverage from a partner, spouse, or a family member or supporter. Then you would talk to the student union about that. They advocate a lot for student rights. Our library is a nice welcoming place. It has a learning commons. It's got bookable rooms for studying, lots of tech support there with loans of laptops or other resources you can get for free, and then they'll help with anything for your writing or math as we have free tutors there for any support. If you need to do any payments, you can come to our front desk in the Discovery Hall. There's appointments there for advisors, as well as you can do payments in person. So that's available. If you were closer to Campbell River, you could go in person to there, but as this program is mainly in the Comox Valley, that's where the main office will be. Student Life does lots of events for orientation. They check out for making sure students are all right. We care about a lot of all our students here on campus, so there's an early assist program to just check on everyone's well-being when they're here as a student. So just want to share, we're really excited about our new student housing. So if you are coming and you're needing a place to live while you're doing the program, there is availability for full-time and part-time within our student housing complex. So this was gifted the name of tul'al'txw from our Comox First Nations. We work very closely with the Comox First Nations, even from the beginning of the design of it too, having the circular space in the middle of it to gather. There's barbecues on the front. There's a beautiful artwork on the front that we've had artists artist design for the building. Each level also has its own gifted name by the Comox First Nations and has wonderful lounges, eating places inside of here. There's more details on our website to check out if you're looking for a place to live. Do look at the website details. It's good to first, when you've submitted your application for the program, to then look at applying to the housing. And there are spaces that will fill up. So it's good if you're wanting a certain room. We have either the nano room at a smaller price, studio, and then a quad room, and then a family room. There is a bit of playground out to here, and then we do have a daycare on site. So if you do have children and you need a place for them to be, there is a daycare for good to check in. It's the Beaufort Daycare just near to it, where children could go. And also right next to here is the Swimming and Recreational Center, where students can get a discount too as well. Here are some of the prices if you're looking to stay into housing while you're doing the program, with the price of including all the furnishings. It's also going to be having utilities all included, and you're right next to campus, and you have the supports and the safety and security of everything here as well. So if you did want to view any of the housing, email Student Housing. They do some tours. Oh, I do see some questions into the chat. Are first years assured housing? So it's a good question. I know everyone talks at different universities and colleges about guaranteed housing for first years. Right now, we are open to everyone. It's really just important that you submit your application early if you're wanting to, say, get into a nano room or into a quad. Just do that so that you're there. And noting the priority, we do have priority for anyone who identifies as Indigenous, anyone who's accepted into a full-time program. We don't have the housing on Campbell River's campus. This housing is on the Comox Valley campus. Also to note that if you're here in the BSN program, the program is on the Comox Valley campus. If you didn't need to go up to Campbell River, there is services to get up from there. One thing amazing about NIC in its benefits is we do have free parking. You're not going to find that at many other places, so that does add a convenience and lots of bus and supports right there. So I can't speak to the wait list. I'm just seeing Eugene asking about housing right now, but I do know that it's good to email. So just going back to here. So any more of these questions that you're having for the housing, there isn't a wait list. Welcome first year. Just email Student Housing. It's always good to give them your interest, ask them a lot of your questions, maybe even come to campus if you can and have a tour. We're going to have more images on our website and follow on social media to post about there. So there's that. Students in quad. So one thing it is good to put, so when it comes to applying to housing, I know that when you submit your application, you put in kind of your personality details and you can request there. So that could be an option where maybe right now we're at a stage where everyone's applying, but you won't get accepted. And we'll talk about that later when it comes to timeline. But you can request to have certain roommates who maybe have certain personality to you, or maybe are interested in healthcare to you to be in the program. That could be a request for that. So it would be something to talk to Student Housing when you're emailing for that. But definitely it's really convenient just because they're walking distance to the campus, swimming and rec center is right over here. And then also the hospital is right nearby as well. So it just makes everything just easy as well. And just noting that even in the quad, you will have a private space with a private closed door. And then there's 2 bathrooms in this. The layouts are on the website, so I do recommend to check that out. Are they separated by gender? There is you can request if you're in the nano or studio, it's private. And then if you're in the quad, you can request a same gender, or you don't have to request a same gender. So there's options about that. Laundry is in the unit. It's coin operated laundry in the facilities. And they have a lot of storage unit because we do have an adventure guiding program, and some people have brought their bikes or other equipment. So there's lots of supports for if you do have some of your own furniture, but it does come fully furnished with all the amenities inside of it. Great questions inside of here. Okay, I'm going to move on as we keep going through here and more people are joining as I'm just giving kind of background information about North Island College. So this goes into funding. So after post-secondary costs money to here, and there are different government grants that sometimes you may have heard other people coming into nursing programs have received. That will all just depend on the time that the government is deciding to put any government grants through. So it's always good as soon as you submitted an application, you have any questions about anything related to finances, to book an appointment with our financial aid advisor who will talk through all the supports that you can in an individualized appointment. So government student aid, student loans here is great. As I understand now, there's no interest for them. So that's a good support to get as funding. And then our foundation awards. So you can apply for these each year. And this is just taking note that it's good to apply early, and we'll mention about the deadline to apply to this program soon, but that this is where we receive, as NIC has a charitable organization, we receive a lot of donations from community, alumni, lots of members here, and those donations, if you're ever knowing anyone who needs to get some tax benefits, they can donate as well to our foundation. That then comes in the form of awards, scholarships for future students like yourselves. So you apply with one application during this time of March to April, and there will be some webinars and information sessions when it comes to that time, but it makes it really easy because it may not all just be about grades. It may be community service, maybe where you're living, what you're studying. So you just put in all your personal details, just don't use AI, just be honest, and then you'll see that we have a lot of funding to help for future students. There's been about 800, almost close to $1 million of donations. So there's a lot of funding that students can get to help for their studies. And if you were ever a former youth in care, do mention that to our financial aid advisor. There is more funding as well for you. Just seeing, does NIC have a form to advertise looking for roommates sharing housing outside of the residence? So I know that when it comes to, there are lots of posters around campus on some of the bulletin boards. So that's where people have shared about getting roommates and finding somewhere to live. So if you're on campus, look around for those ones. And then also the student union. It is always a bit risky if you are looking around the community for a place to live and if you're coming elsewhere. So just always make sure you're not getting scammed about your money, checking out your place ahead of time. And that's why we were mentioning, and we're really happy to have our student housing on campus just as a safe, secure place. So just a heads up if you are looking around for other people and wanting to do that. Otherwise, the quad option is a great way that they'll be able to match you with someone and support with any issues, as we have a student housing support team. Okay, moving on. Okay, I've gotten to the program details. So now's when I will stop talking and I will pass it over to Holly.
Hi. Okay, so with program admissions, like with any other program, if NIC is not the first nursing program that you've been checking out. You need to have your CPR. And sorry, I don't have the I can't advance this slide, so I'll let you keep going. Your workplace hazardous material information system, and the workplace hazardous information system, or your CPR, as long as it's current, and likely will need to be renewed during the program. The other thing is we have a vaccination record. So a record that if you're vaccinated needs to be completed. And so depending on where you are in your lifespan, you may or may not have to have boosters. There's also a vaccine declaration form, where if you are not wanting to be vaccinated, that you are replying with that form to state that you're not vaccinated and don't intend to be. With the vaccine declaration, there can be some challenges to navigate, but it doesn't preclude you from being part of the program. It may affect some of your placements, or based on what locations, and if there are any outbreaks during your clinical placements that you might have to be excluded to. So definitely in the nursing program, you're working with a variety of vulnerable populations, from infants and children to adults with cognitive challenges, and of course our older adult populations. So that's absolutely essential that you have a criminal record check completed. And annually, as you go through the program, you sign a declaration that states that there have been no changes to your criminal record check that you submitted at the beginning. I'm just going to take a peek. There's a number of questions in the chat. So you're hoping to apply for the 2027 fall. And when is that application available? Sarah, do you?
Yes. I answered to that question for October 1st next year. I think for some of these questions, we'll be getting to some of the information, and we may answer some of your questions through the information that's coming in the next slides. So I do thank you for the information in the chat, but I think we'll take note of that soon, answering that in the next slides. Yeah.
Okay, moving along. There are occasions, as I'm sure you've seen or heard, many of the BCNU advertisements where in providing care for patients that may not have control over their emotions or cognitive ability, where nurses can be exposed to some violent behaviors. So it's mandatory that everyone takes violence prevention training. That's usually offered through our partner institutions that require that as a student, a prerequisite to be in clinical spaces that are specifically high risk for that training. And there is a mandatory group orientation. It's mandatory because it is a lot of information that comes at you in the first few weeks of the program. And so by not getting that information, it can really impact your success. And of course, we want you to be successful, and we want you to be enjoying the opportunity to learn about nursing and healthcare. and it's a foundation for the rest of your courses. So yeah, we have a mandatory group orientation on our first week.
We'll get to some of the other questions about admissions later, but this one's related to this slide, is about the CPR and the qualification being Canadian or American.
Yeah, actually it is. It is required to be from the Heart and Stroke Foundation of Canada. So it has to be a Canadian certified course. And the violence training is not required to be done before you apply. It's going to be done during the program.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think for any others that are kind of thinking about these, just as Holly was saying, that once you're admitted to the program, you're accepted, then more of these will be worked on.
Nursing programs are tough, I want to say. I've taught in a number of different nursing programs. The curriculum structure can be varied. This is a curriculum that was designed a number of years ago that used to be all over the province, and most colleges ran this curriculum. It is blended so that some of the additional courses that are not nursing courses per se, like English or biology or your electives, they're not taken up front and then you start nursing. They're blended throughout the curriculum with nursing courses. So it's a lot of workload for every 3-credit course that you take. It's expected about 3 hours of outside of classroom content or work that you're doing on your own. And so it's something that you need to be thinking about when you're contemplating the program. So it goes from year 1 to 4, and you have spaces in the curriculum where you're allowed to where we've left room for you to take your electives. The costs. So again, you want to consider costs. Right now, it's a great time to be thinking about being a nursing student. As Sarah mentioned earlier, our financial aid department is fantastic. I've worked closely with them in looking at areas for development for our option C entry, where our LPN students who are coming in to become BSNs have part-time status as students, but we've been able to navigate the scheduling so that they still qualify for financial aid. The practice, so there's a variety of practices and hands-on opportunities for you to learn. We have an amazing simulation lab with some high fidelity mannequins. You start off learning about healthy individuals and the community and where these people are before they actually get into the acute care service requirements. It's a small cohort size. It's 36 students. And I want to say that is one of the best things about North Island College. I've taught at some larger colleges and universities, and your faculty know you. They get to watch you grow and develop through the program. They know about different things going on in your life, whatever you choose to share with them. But they actually work collaboratively with you on achieving your goals. The faculty actually at North Island College is so warm and welcoming. It completely amazed me. I've only been at North Island College for a little over a year now, but actually everyone on campus, not just the BSN faculty, is so helpful and kind and always willing to lend a hand. So this small cohort size is an exceptional opportunity to learn. I know we've got a bunch of questions in the chat, but I will just finish this slide and then I'll take a peek at the questions in the chat. There's lots of student groups that are available in the BSN program. There's the student BCNU Student Nurses Organization. There's the Canadian Student Nurses Association. You can access all of the professional resources as students, like the Nurse and Nurse Practitioner of BC Association. And of course, you have the opportunity as you go through the program, if you're an employed student nurse, with one of our community partners is Island Health. You have the opportunity to actually be practicing independently as an employed student nurse and would become a BCCNM member. So there's lots of opportunity for you to get involved and engage in your future profession. I'm just going to head over to the chat here, and a question about, would I say that by doing bio and English beforehand cuts down on the workload significantly, or does it not make much of a difference? I would actually say that would be a fabulous thing to consider if that's an option for you, because it allows you to complete those, and then in your first year you're just focusing on your nursing studies. It's going to give you a little more time to integrate that information, it would definitely make things easier, and it would certainly lighten your course load. So I think you're going to know yourself the best, and how much time management you have, or other outside commitments that you have. And I would say definitely please reach out to our BSN advisor. Her name is Lori Michaud, and she would be absolutely delighted to answer any more questions about what could make things easier throughout the program for you. And over to Cameron's question, what about the LPN to RN program for fall 2026? Is it going to be hybrid? Excellent question. So we are just finalizing the schedule for that. And in fact, we held a focus evaluation group with our current LPN to RN cohort about how things worked for them with the programming, the scheduling. So they've also just made some changes to some of the course delivery. It's not hybrid. Hybrid speaks to a variety of ways of delivering content. So each course is given a course code. So some of them will be seminar, and is identified as face-to-face delivery. And for North Island College, the face-to-face delivery can be up to 25% virtual class types. The other course code that many of our courses have is blended. And a blended course would have a portion of up to 25 to 75% of the classes could be offered virtually. And then there is distance learning as the last course code, and that would be 100% virtual delivery, which could be asynchronous or synchronous, or a combination of that. So I hope that answers your question. I know it's all about planning and being able to work and navigate your challenges and commitments in the other part of your life that's not your student part. There's 4 main streams of the curriculum, and this curriculum is the same as our degree granting institution, which is Vancouver Island University. And we collaborate regularly on all aspects of the curriculum with them. And so we have health sciences. So we're looking at biology, we're looking at pathophysiology, we're looking at pharmacology, and there's opportunities to take advanced pharmacology as well. Health and healing, what is the foundation of nursing and our practical applications. So we have a lab course every semester, as well as clinical practice course, and where you're enmeshing what you're learning and integrating that into your clinical practice. Relational practice stream is very much about our ways of being with individual clients, within community, and also within our own healthcare team membership. So it's essential. Nursing is a communication-rich profession, and if it's an area that you struggle with, then I would recommend working in some kind of job or group type session where you have the opportunity to speak to a lot of people before you come into the program. Our professional practice stream looks at the nursing profession across the 4 years. We have a number of leadership and research inquiry courses that fit into those categories. And I'll tell you today, actually, I had some absolutely amazing feedback from one of our partners in Island Health that accepted a group of 3 students to work in one of the project areas that they haven't been able to get to. And the message that they sent about the amazing product that this group of 3 students working with them produced was fantastic. It was a message full of accolades, and they were absolutely delighted with the work that these students produced. So they were very, very excited and look forward to having more student placements. The theory and knowledge from all of these courses is scaffolded. It's cumulative. So everything that you learn in your first year is built upon in your second year and your third year, and so forth. So it's a bit different than, high school, or say going to take some science courses at university. It's not siloed. Each course is integrated with other courses, and the faculty that teach in the program are blending that knowledge for you so that it is able to be applied actively in the clinical settings that you're going to be in. So the faculty members know what's being taught in the other courses, so they can draw on that and help you make linkages with that theory and knowledge. So a couple questions here in the chat. I'll just address that. With the workload, are there 7 courses a semester, or is it 5? So it's not a set number. There's the basic nursing curriculum, but there are spaces in the semesters where it's built in that you can take your electives. So you have 2 non-nursing electives, and then you have some advanced nursing electives that some people choose to take. The advanced pharmacology, for example. Some people decide that they want to work in the emergency department or in the maternity department. So they will look at different places that offer those courses that support them to get their specialty in order to request placements in those areas. And on average, what is the age range and gender split of the cohort? Ooh, that's a tough one. It's really all over the map. We have students from, fresh out of high school to this is their second or third career choice. And I want to say there's maybe about a 60-40 split, maybe 70-30 split female to male. But again, it varies as depending on the cohort. I hope that helps. So yeah, we look at the NIC curriculum is a concept-based curriculum. So it's not here's your older adult, here's your pediatric or obstetric client, or your child-bearing family group. It's a foundational concepts that are threaded across the lifespan, and so it's definitely a curriculum that is allows you to practice and learn in a variety of different settings. So the concepts that you learn in your first year are just as applicable in your fourth year, but at a much more complex level. So I'm not going to read through this slide because I am sure that you are all able to read this slide. But when you're looking at, typically we have a very strong engagement with the community and our community partners. So you're introduced quite gently to the nursing role. You're not, thrown into the acute care setting and expected to, be bathing people right away. You're learning about health in general, what you see in the community, how to interview patients, and you're learning some basic skills. And then as you move through the program, you're working with less acute patients. They may also be in the community. Some may be in the acute care area, but there's not a high demand for complex care to be provided. It's about relational practice and getting to know how to read patients, how best to communicate with them, all your body language, to be able to implement the skills that you're learning. So after year 2 is when you can apply to be an ESN in our Island Health partners. And then you move into year 3 of our curriculum, where your care that's being provided in acute care is more complex. There's definitely more expected of you as far as integrating your pathophysiology knowledge and your nursing knowledge and your critical thinking capacity. So there are some wonderful opportunities working in agencies in the community, agencies that have partnered with North Island College for many years. Some of them will be related to mental health or adults with cognitive challenges. They might be related to food security. They might be related to public health. We work in some of the schools in our earlier years teaching hand washing. It's really a great program, and its students are so well supported all the way through the program by not just the faculty, but all of the staff for all of these student supports. They're just, quite honestly, they're amazing. So, practicum placements. This is often a challenging topic. We have practicum placements in Port Alberni, and we have practicum placements in the Comox Valley, and we have practicum placements in Campbell River. So that may require some travel. And despite trying to accommodate where you're coming from and where you're living, our practice placement office is placing thousands of students. They place healthcare aides, they place LPNs, they place the access to LPNs, they place the access to BSN, BSNs, early childhood education. They have a ton of work. And so negotiating or making specific requests, we ask you to submit requests about what areas you would like to work in for your practicums. And we ask you to list several of them in the order. We also ask about priorities. Sometimes you can't have, where you'd like to work also in the location that is closest to your home. So we ask you for what is the most important part of that for you. Shift work. So at the end of the program, you're going to be asked to follow your preceptor. So you're going to work nights, you're going to work days, you're going to work several shifts in a row, depending on what your preceptor's shift scheduling is like. There are some practice sites and partners that are limited, that we are required to adapt, because there are other institutions also placing students at the site. So there will be some placements or rotations where you'll have to work a mix of days and evenings. And I guess something that you'll need to think about is transportation and driving conditions. And that can be challenging in some of the winter months if you're not a confident driver in the snow. You may be traveling to your practice site in Port Alberni, for example. So those are things that you really have to think about and pay attention to when you're considering North Island College as your nursing program. So there's a couple of questions in here. The way that nursing placements work, there's a system called HSPNet that is used for all student placements across the province of BC and other provinces as well, but for BC. And all of the placement requests for our acute care partners go through the system. There are sites that are local to us that where we're North Island College is the first consideration for a student request. And then if you are not local, say even for a North Island student that wants to be placed in Victoria, for example, we would not be the first choice for a student placement there by the institution because there is UVic and Camosun and other private education institutions that are making a request that would have a priority because of location. So I'm going to say no placements in the Lower Mainland, definitely not VGH or St. Paul's. Yeah, placements are always a challenge. It's worse in the Lower Mainland to try and get placements because there's obviously more educational institutions and more competition. So option C, what is option C for LPN at the point of the BSN semester? Is it okay? So where would option C students enter into the program? So they would enter in. You would receive credit, or well, not credit, but you would come into year 2. And there are a couple of courses that are specifically for option C. And you wouldn't be able to so the option C schedule is that you come in, you are doing primarily some specific courses that the LPN programs don't really address in their programming. So there's a lot of relational practice courses, and you have your pathophysiology and your biology, all of those things, and then you're not integrating with the option A students, so you stay as a cohort as an option C student, so that you're getting the relational experience of your peers who are also practicing LPNs. Practice placements. So some of them are short. So if we look at the consolidated practice experience in year 1, that is a 4-week experience to consolidate your knowledge and learning for the whole year. If your practice placements in during the regular semesters, that one, sorry, I should back up the bus for a second. Consolidated practice experiences happen at the end of every year. So you go in the fall semester and the winter semester, and you have practice experiences during those semesters as well. They typically are 2 days a week, and they're between 5 and 8 hours in length, with some seminar time attached. At the end of that's considered year one, and you go into a spring semester for a consolidated practice experience. That's where you get to put everything that you've learned during the previous 2 semesters into practice and consolidate your learning and apply it. So in the first year, because you haven't had a lot of clinical experience over the first 2 semesters, it's slightly shorter. It's 4 weeks in length. And it typically runs Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays with some seminar times in there, of course, to prepare you for your clinical practice location. At the end of the second and third year, your practicums are longer. They are 8 weeks. And so those 8 weeks consist of 2 practice areas. So you would maybe for the first 4 weeks, you might be in on a medical unit. And the second 4 weeks, you might be in a mental health setting, or maternity setting, or a surgical setting. So we try and give all of the students that exposure to all of those different areas across the program. So there isn't anyone that is being left out. Okay, so what is the prerequisite for LPNs? That's a great
I can share more in the chat for that because I know that we'll get in more to these questions here, but I'll get to that.
Terrific. Okay, so if you can move the slide forward, that would be great. As you end with your last couple of semesters, you might have the capacity to be working. If you're in the option A program, you might be working as an employed student nurse. However, that the Island Health Partners agree with North Island College that there is never any kind of work that's offered to employed student nurses during any of their class or course time. So you would have the opportunity to work weekends or during semester breaks to consolidate your skills that you have already learned. You wouldn't be learning new skills as an employed student nurse. You're only allowed to practice what you have learned so far in the program. Then we get to semester 8, which is our last semester, and where you're supported to transition to be a new graduate. So on the BCCNM website, which I would highly encourage you to explore, there are some important documents. And one of the important documents that's there is the competencies for entry to practice for BSN graduates. So those competencies are what you will be able to develop and measure yourself against as you move into being a new nursing graduate, and what you will be measured against when you begin your orientation with whatever employer that you choose to move with. So the other one that I would encourage you to review and learn more about prior to your application to the program would be something called requisite skills and abilities. So these are a list of the skills and abilities that you would need to be able to demonstrate or have as a nursing student. So in fact, it's so important that you that we actually have you sign an acknowledgement that you meet the requisite skills and abilities upon your entry to the program. else. I think I quite like this slide, just because I don't think it's necessarily old ideas of what nurses do. I think when you're watching things like ER or Grey's Anatomy, you or you've had family in the hospital, you see what nurses do. Um, but that is the tip of the iceberg. There is so much background and knowledge that is required to make the decision to act in any instance of care that you give to an individual, and that's information that you do not hear. You don't hear nurses thinking out loud saying, well, because I know that this organ does this and that medication is doing this to this organ, and this is what my patient might be feeling, so I'm going to anticipate this or that, and I'm going to do this to help reduce the impact of that. You don't hear nurses thinking out loud, but it's critical and complex, and it's the most work that nurses do that is never seen. So, yeah, I think one of the best things about being a North Island College Bachelor of Science alumnus is that a lot of your leaders, when you work, if you choose to live in and stay in Vancouver Island, a lot of your nurse leaders, managers, directors, executive directors are North Island College graduates. They come and they stay, and they build and develop their communities. So, yeah. Okay, I'll take a minute and just ask some of the questions there. Is the recording getting sent to you? Okay, Sarah answered that. If you have completed Bio 160 but not Bio 159, do you still meet prerequisites for the LPN? Sarah, I'm going to leave that to you because I work mostly in the BSN program, and I didn't catch any more that were above that.
Yeah, I think we have a lot of admission questions, so I just know we're going to go through the slides, and then we'll get a little bit more to some of these questions that are asking about admissions. And then if any of you had any more clarifications about the program details for the 4-year direct entry BSN or the LPN to BSN program, let us know. But we're going to move forward to admissions, starting with direct entry to the program A, which is 4 years, which we're really grateful that we have here at North Island College, because it's wonderful. We see the cohort from first all the way to fourth. And especially, I know many people were asking about jobs, as Holly was saying. Island Health, it's a great place, as I mentioned at the beginning, to live on Vancouver Island. Island Health is really looking towards our grads, and there's lots of placements and opportunities for them. And then just speaking back to that practicum spot, it was really great to hear this summer. I heard some students got placed in Port Alberni. Just the beauty of where we are located. I heard they even camped and spent the summer kind of camping and then going to their practicum in the Port Alberni Hospital. So it's a great area here to enjoy and do learning and work on Vancouver Island. Just going through here, so I'll read through to some of these admission requirements. Our admissions officer is not able to join today. If you have questions specific to your personal case, I know for some of you have mentioned in the chat, and especially for either the BSN program or here for the question about Bio and Bio 59, we're not able to answer those specific questions personally personally over here in this information session. There's a lot of details when it comes to personal circumstances that the admissions officer wants to convey to everyone, that it's just really important just to apply, and then they need to see your official documents before they make any of those decisions. And that comes with if you're looking at anything about transfer credit, if you're looking about any credentials, and if you are upgrading or you're trying to work. I know other mentioned about taking their electives earlier. It's great if you have the option to take that through North Island College, just because then we have your courses already on file and don't have to worry about any of the transfer credit. So going into the requirements, first, the big thing is the Casper test. Holly, I don't know if you want to add anything more about the Casper test. I know a lot of people have been asking questions about its necessity, but it is an important one here for the admission to the program.
Not all nursing programs have the Casper test, but what it does do is it helps to really it provides you some feedback on how comfortable nursing will be for you. There's not really do this and you're going to get a great result on the Casper test. They're changing the questions and the setup on a regular basis. So I would just recommend that you would go in, prepare for the test, and just try and relax and be your natural self, because that's who you're going to be as a nursing student and a nurse. Is you can't be someone other than yourself. So not important to try. Okay, just be you, and it's not gonna be a challenging situation if you just listen carefully and respond naturally. Yeah, I think that's all I have to say, really.
Yeah, I'll just add a little bit to that, just thinking about Eugene here in the chat asking about the competitive entry for the BSN. And so noting that it's not just the grade average that we'll talk about soon, but just the results of the Casper test is taken into a factor, just knowing as it's kind of that personality scenario-based test. So the biggest tip is that you've applied to us first, and then you prepare for the Casper test and then share your results with us. If you're applying to other institutions, you can share the results to them as well. And just as Holly was saying, just come with a relaxed and ready mind, having a place that's quiet and without disturbances while you take the test, and you're ready to focus and read all the questions carefully, and then just responding with the best answer that you pick from that. So all the best for you if you haven't done the Casper test yet and you're working on it. That's one of the requirements. Number 2 is that the admissions officer really wants to emphasize that you really read our website as well as these quick reference guides in detail. So a lot of questions do come through email to the admissions office and to us are answered in these documents. So do take a careful read. It may be printed off from the website. If you're applying to option A, that's the quick reference guide. Option C for LPN and RN program, that's the quick reference guide. So do review that in detail. And then number 4 is here that if you are still in high school and maybe some of your courses you are not taking until the next term, or you're taking a course now, you'll have to complete a self-reporting grade form. Do that to the best of your ability. The reason is, and some people say, should I even apply if I'm not taking the course until next semester? But the application is going to be due earlier. Do apply. they want to see that in your transcript you have the plan to complete the course as required before the start of our program in September, fall of 2026. And then this self-reporting is a best guess of what your grade will be. Missions lets us know that if when they do the review and they receive the final grade, if it's lower than what you predicted, then that doesn't meet the high, because it's a competitive program, the high need of average, so you may not be accepted from that. So they'll discuss more from that. So just if you're working on this document in high school, you just do your best guess based on what your marks were from your previous year of that course, as well as maybe what grade you may be getting in an intern mark to help you with that. So the BSN program is selective admission process, the most competitive program that we have here, as well as the most competitive program from other colleges and universities that offer the BSN program. It is, I can't say when some are saying, well, what is the average percentage that you need to make to get into it? It varies from year to year, and the best tip is to not think about others, is to just focus on yourself and do the best that you can on that Casper test, keeping focused on it, as well as the marks in the courses that we'll show soon on the next slide, as it's a combined evaluation of the GPA for those prerequisites. Indigenous students, we do have a spot for the top 3 applicants. And then important note from admissions is that there is no wait list for the following intake. So, and this is also no deferrals. So if you're thinking to take a gap year, if you're thinking to work on some courses, if you know something in life is happening to you within the next 4 years, and maybe now is not the right time to apply, know that you would have to cancel, and then you'd have to reapply for the intake that you want to do. So those are some important parts. If you are an Indigenous person and you're trying to get admission through the priority admission, you do need to meet the same admission requirements as listed. So taking the Casper test and meeting the grades needed. You would need to self-identify as an Indigenous person, and you need to complete the priority admission request form on EPBC when you apply. So checking that box from there, as we have a number, about 3 reserved seats. If those seats are not filled by any Indigenous student that's applied, then they would be opened up to the next qualified applicant. So continuing on for the option A, you will need to have your grade 12 or equivalent, so a graduation from high school. And so looking into here, there are different names for these courses because maybe the name has changed over time, but it needs to be within the last 10 years. So we're putting it at a C+, but it is averaged higher than this for Biology 12 or Anatomy and Physiology. If you're taking the course at North Island College through upgrading, it would be our Bio 060 or Bio 110. So that's an option if your course was not taken, if you're a mature student and your course for biology or anatomy was not within the last 10 years. You can apply and discuss with our Access Navigator about taking a course through our upgrading. Then we look at Chemistry 11. So that is needed. We don't look at Chem 12. I had a number of people email saying, oh, I did better in my Chem 12 than I did in my Chemistry 11. Would you look at that and think about that mark? The answer from admissions was yes, they do think about all the courses in relativity. So thinking about chemistry relating in higher of the grade 12 one, then that would be taken into a factor for calculating the GPA. So the admissions will consider that. If it isn't done on high school, this is the course at North Island College that is acceptable if you need to take that and your high school course wasn't within the last 10 years. Next is English 12 or an equivalent course for nursing. So if there are other questions about admissions, if your course, I wouldn't, because as I mentioned, today this is general and just not wanting to put any personal information into the chat about your circumstance. The best is always just to apply, send an application, and then talk to our advisors, and they'll review your documents and be able to tell you if it meets requirements or if it doesn't meet requirements. And then moving on to math, it's looking at pre-calculus at the grade 11 level, principles of math 11, so at the grade 11, or if it wasn't of that, a lower level math of foundations would have to be at grade 12 level. So if you're taking the course in upgrading at North Island College, it would be Math 53. So the Casper test, it's really important that you review the document. So when you go on our website, you click on the word Casper test, you read all the details in it, and then go through that. Then that will give you information about how to take the Casper test. It is available on the Acuity Insights website. So go to there, find the information. You'll see all the times of the Casper test is done online. So you can pick a date that works best from you. I'm just going to quickly see some questions in the chat. I'm just seeing Paige is asking, will the next intake for option C be in 3 years? What the class schedule look like? Will it be accessible for LPNs working full time? I know, Holly, the process is that the LPN to RN program is understandable that people will be working, and that's why they can take it part-time. Our option C program is offered every 2 years.
I did just mention, I replied and gave an example of in the court or in the chat, and yeah, it's designed for LPNs to continue working. And so we've just made some final tweaks, and I can't share the entire schedule for you, but it is based on some feedback from our previous cohort of working LPNs about how we could make improvements to the scheduling to make it more manageable. So we're definitely that this is the population that we're targeting with this program.
Yeah, thank you. Richa, I know that with the BSN program, admission, just going back to the prerequisites, through here, it is that I know successful applicants are identified through a combined evaluation of the GPA based on the program prerequisites. And portfolio is meant to be the Casper test. So it's those two things that are looked upon for entry. So the highest marks with the Casper test in combination with the highest marks of the grades of the courses listed here, biology, chemistry, English, and math. Those are what are considered. Holly, I don't know if you want to add anything more about
No,
the admission, but that's the admission from there. Thank you. And then the next question, would my grade 12 certification from my home country be allowed? So this is another one about a personal circumstance where, as mentioned, we are not able to go into personal admission details. The best is to apply admission reviews, what your documents are, and then they'll be able to tell you about if it's approved or if you need to go into upgrading. Thank you. So I'm just moving forward for the timeline of option A, as that's often quite a question for many people who have applied of what it looks like. So important thing is that you apply early. So if you're looking for the 4-year direct Bachelor of Science in Nursing program, all applications must be in before the end of February. This is in March when the last Casper test will need to be taken. Earlier is better, but this is the latest. So it's always good to do your Casper test earlier than this date if you're planning on this option A program. April is when the applications are reviewed, and then May is when the accepted students will be notified. So this program last year in the competition had close to 200 people for the 36 spots. We're getting up to there. It may be different number. Many people are applying to different places, so it is competitive, but we just encourage you to just focus on yourself and your own grades and your own application, and then just thinking about the backup plan that we mentioned before. And then for those who did a backup plan of instead of going direct for 4 years to the BSN program, and then you did the practical nursing, worked as a practical nurse, and now you're upgrading from an LPN to BSN program. These are your details that you must consider. So you must have submitted your transcripts as proof of meeting the same academic requirements. So going back to a chemistry 11, the biology or anatomy physiology, and then the English 12. Those must be met to those minimal grade options, and then they'll be looking at the marks from there. And then you must have graduated from a recognized practical nursing program. I know a lot of people are saying, I'm not sure, was my institution recognized? This is a heads up for any of you who are also thinking about, maybe you didn't get into BSN, maybe you're thinking about practical nursing. It's important, like NIC, we're a designated learning institution. There are some private places out there. So we best is to, and I know this question was asked before about recognition of credentials, is to apply, submit your documents, and admissions will review them in detail. And then the next is about full-time employment. So this is the number of hours that you must have completed as a practicing nurse in BC over the past 3 years. I know some people, maybe they've done their learning in Alberta or maybe another province. It is good to apply. Admissions will take a review and consider it, although this is the priority as it is looked at in priority for those for BSN here. But if they'll consider others if your experience was done in another province or other experience as well. So good to just apply and submit all your documents and have that reference. And then know that you need to apply and have that information shared to admissions through a specific email to them. Now, the next is a letter from an employer confirming those number of hours as an LPN over the past 3 years. So that must be an official letter, and it must come directly to admissions in a process of applying first and then submitting that letter. Okay, there's a number of questions that come through. When will we hear about the schedule for option C? Okay, that comes into the next timeline. So here it is. So just keep note that this is a different program. This is the LPN to BSN program option C. So it has an earlier deadline for its application. If you haven't applied already, would recommend to do so. And especially the deadline, no apps will be considered if it's after January 31st, as the applications will close on our Education Planner BC at that time. You must do your Casper test before February 5th. I wouldn't recommend to do it just at that time. I would recommend to do it earlier, as then you're prepared. So now over the winter break is a good time to apply and then work on that Casper test. And then by February the 13th, document submission deadline. So document submission deadline, the document was we saw from the last slide, having to have proof and sharing about the hours that you've completed and reference from there, as well as any other documents for your transcripts. Though that admissions needs all those details by that deadline, and then they're going to be reviewing more in April and May when you'll find out about acceptances. Okay, what's happening into the chat? NIC plan on increasing the availability of Option C program, offering it more regularly. We don't have any plans to change our offerings. It's continued to be every second year. Just we are at quite a capacity for offering the program, but we do know from demand that it is needed, so that is taken into consideration. If any changes happen to the program offerings, it's good to just keep updated on our website, and follow us on any of our social media, and we'll update that from there. Okay. Next, if you are successful here as an Option C, I know that Holly was going over this a bit before when there were questions about how would you enter into that 4-year program when you are done. There is the transition to BSN semester where you need to do the 3 of the bridging courses. So these are them listed to here. There is academic advising support. Holly mentioned that once you're accepted into the program, we have, and you'll see, especially because we are a very supportive campus here, very small class sizes. You'll see very friendly faces. So if you ever have any questions or concerns, it's always good, instead of keeping any of those within yourself, to always reach out, and support with that planning is always good to be done in advance. And then our advisors will help for you to get the right courses so you can enter in smoothly. So then in entering in smoothly, once you've done the transition, then it comes into the semester. So then you must complete the same program requirements as the Option A students in order to receive the Bachelor of Science in Nursing degree. So you'll be joining in, but as Holly mentioned, you'll be keeping a separate cohort of those who are in the Option C instead of those who are direct entry BSN. Okay, I wanted to mention about Access Navigator support. Do keep your hopes that you do get accepted into the program, but as some were mentioning about trying to lessen the burden of the full course load, there is support here that an Access Navigator will happen to help. So if you did not get in, students do get on a wait list in case someone drops out, but the Access Navigator can help with alternatives. So alternatives could be taking other courses and applying again the next year, and then also about the practical nursing or the healthcare assistant program. So they will map out pathways to help you reach your desired program goal. They'll help with any, maybe you didn't, when admissions reviewed, maybe your courses didn't meet admission requirements, and maybe you need to upgrade those high school level courses. And so they'll help with options of how you can take them through us and what courses to take through our adult basic education program. This adult basic education program will be free. So the courses, high school level courses of maybe you need biology or chemistry, you can take them through us for free. So there's a lot of support through there. Some of them may be on our campus, or some of them can be also distant. So there's lots of help that this Access Navigator can help you with, as we're there to help for all students through all the process. And if you've already applied and you have a student number, you can already start to make an appointment and have conversations with our Access Navigator and with our advisors through your My NIC account. So we're reaching close to the end of the time here. I thank you everyone for joining us. I just want to save that we are having a festival in March. It will be March 12th, 19th, and 26th. So Comox Valley, if you're able to, it's a nice time to come over on the 19th. And then we will open up the simulation labs and show you inside. If not, there is, this is myself, my name's Sarah Byrne, and my colleagues Sarah and Leela. I do campus tours, and I have them scheduled. I have a scheduled tour for tomorrow at 3 o'clock of the Comox Valley, show around the whole campus, as well as into where the sim labs and other materials and other facilities are on the campus. I do that monthly, and then you can let me know if you have any other questions as a future student. Our email is here at futurestudents@nic.bc.ca, so either myself or any of the other team will be able to support with anything for you until you apply, and then the admissions and advisors can help you in more detail to your specific case or financial aid. Just going in close, we're close here, but we will hang on to answer more of your questions. So we'll respond in the chat, or there is a raise hand icon if you wanted to unmute yourself and speak verbally. But I think Cameron's just asking a bit more about the Option C program. I know that it was asked before about it being hybrid and about the length of it and then working during it. I think, Holly, if you're able to just go a little bit more about the need to do it while working at the same time.
Yeah, I think based on the students that I've had interface with, they've experienced some challenges with navigating, time off for specific courses at times. And we have looked at trying to tweak the schedule to make it easier and to provide breaks in the course semesters. There's some condensed courses that are like for an entire week as opposed to a semester-long course. There's some courses that are, 4 weekends out of a semester. And so we've really tried to vary and make it as accessible as possible for people that are working already in a full-time position. I've known some students who have given up their regular line as an LPN and chosen to work as a casual so that they can still maintain their hours of work, but there's more flexibility in when they book their shifts. I've known some students that have reduced from full-time to part-time because they also have, young kids, and thought that would give them some more flexibility in being able to pick up extra shifts and navigate around their work schedule. But basically, we've done our absolute best to try and manage the delivery schedule. And I think, one of the challenges for our previous cohort was that not all instructors or faculty were really aware of the ability for face-to-face courses to be blended. So I think that's something that will have a big impact on the next scheduling of the Option C course or a program, not course. Sorry. So I hope that helps. Awesome. Thank you.
Well, we thank everyone for being here. If you have any questions, put them in the chat or put your unmute your mic and you can speak it. We'll just stay for a minute longer and just really thank you for applying and getting into this field. It's well in need and appreciated. So thank you for spending your Thursday evening with us. I hope you keep safe wherever you are and healthy as the weather gets colder right now. And we look forward to the possibility of having you on our campus and in our program. And if you're local, it's great for you to keep to here and helping with island health. Or if you're not and you're joining, we do have a question.
Oh.
Do you hear from option A students whether or not they're able to maintain a part-time job?
Yeah, absolutely. I hear from students, and I think there's quite a number of the students that I've taught. I think first year is challenging if you're taking, your English and your bio and the nursing courses, and then trying to work on top of that and meet all of, this new knowledge deadlines across the courses. I think it would be quite a challenge if you're not an exceptionally strong student and a very organized individual. That being said, there's not just the funding that Sarah talked about earlier, but there's funding from the Registered Nurses Foundation, which is just bursaries that you can apply for. There's lots of money there to support you. There's current government funding that supports you. So my recommendation would be, if at all possible, for you not to work, at least in your first year. Because, sorry, someone's getting to the end of their time too. Yeah, it's a lot of information. It's a lot of reading, and it's really a foundational year for you to build your next 3 years on, as far as option C goes.
Okay. I think, that's all the questions we'll take for here. We thank everyone. I'm going to close this session, and thank you for joining, and have a good rest of your evening. Okay. Bye.
Best of luck. Bye, everyone.